Christian parenting.
Hello, Courtney. How are you?
Greetings, Steph. I'm good. Do you ever curl just I think we talked about this last time. I'll get the front pieces done and I'm like, I'm not sure what's going on back here, but there's a couple of front pieces curled and then
You
just
do
kind
look very nice. We did talk about this last time we recorded because we both had only done the front part of our hair.
Yeah, that's right. I think I
But I
made it all the
actually
way
did
around
my
back.
entire hair today.
Yeah, and this is funny. I really don't look in the mirror. This is so terrible, but you just get busy. And so like when we turn this on, we're looking at ourselves. And so it's like the first time I've seen a mirror technically. And I'm like, what's happening up there? So like looking at myself. But also I need you to know, have you ever had a tag in your shirt and you're like, I need to cut that out before I leave, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Literally
this morning,
the other night, I was at my mom's house and I was like, Mom, not to be like a 5-year-old child, but I need you to cut the tag out.
Correct. Because I would like cut a section of my hair out if I did it myself. So I pull it around front. Because I have ADHD, I'm like, I won't forget it if I pull it around front. And I was doing like 9 things before I left. And so proceed to forget, obviously, and then go to the Nothing But Cake store to get my friend a cake. And the sweet girl doesn't say anything. It's sitting there. I get in the car and I see it. I'm like, oh my gosh, she had to be like a sweet little old lady.
She should have said something.
Amazing.
That's funny though.
You know, humble pie on the daily over here.
Yeah, well, it happens to the best of us.
Mm-hmm. Welcome to middle age, folks.
Well, okay. So I feel like people should. So basically, as executive director of Christian Parenting, host the Christian Parenting podcast, and host of Pardon the Mess, we're in communication a lot.
A lot. Mm-hmm.
Like we chat frequently. And basically, we were chatting, a couple days ago?
Yeah.
And just said, we should just get on a podcast and talk about all the things that we're struggling with and our friends are struggling with. And
yeah,
the things that are fun too, not everything.
Yeah,
that's hard.
I agree. Yeah.
So we're just kind of here to talk about, I don't know, your girls are older than mine.
But so let's start when you're like, what are we going to talk about? I don't know. What do you want to talk about?
I know. Literally, we did get on. We're like, so what should we actually focus on
Christian
today?
parenting? Something in that realm?
Something in there. But I was like, you're like one stage ahead of me. Because my oldest is middle school. I still have 2 in elementary school. Yours are in high school. So you're just one step ahead of me. Tell me, let's start with like, how has your parenting changed from where I am to where you are now? Because you have one about to graduate too.
Well, on a funny note, like my kids, and I have an interesting story because I've had some medical things, but I feel like when they were younger, elementary school, I was like going. I mean, I wrote a book about laughing. In this house, we will giggle. And we were like doing all the things. And I was room mom and I was the, soccer mom, the cheer mom, and really fun. And just like the fun level was up. The engagement level was up. And around middle school, I was like, they don't really want to be around me. And I'm very tired. And I started like not in some ways I disengaged, but more of just like realized that it was not possible to do all the things. And freedom came with that to be like, well, I can't do it all. So why am I killing myself to be all the things all the time? And so I think some of it was healthy. Some of it's healthy to start dialing back. And then some of it was like, I think I'm just tired. And I did have a good friend say, don't forget to be the fun, joyful mom that you were so many years ago. And I'm like, God, it's so true. Because I don't know, there was a weird like mid-mom, let's call it a mid-mom depression. Those middle school years, I was like, I got a dog, COVID hit. I was feeling like crud. And I just hit the couch for a few years. But now as high schoolers, I'm very much aware that the time is slipping. And I've got one graduating this May. And so I'm back engaged. Like we're just doing all kinds of silly stuff. I'm like, y'all want to have all your friends over? Okay, awesome. Where before I would have thrown a fit about bringing the Gatorades to the cheer thing or having the party. And now I'm like, I get to have the party because I don't know if this group of friends will ever be here again, which is so sad, but it's true. It's giving me a little more I get to versus I have to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Well, I think what's really hard too about the middle school years that I'm feeling so much right now is I probably wasn't quite as fun as you because you have more energy than I do in general. But like we did so many fun things together as a family and activities, and like we could bake cookies and do cheesy activities, and my kids were all in.
Yes, right.
And now I'm a middle schooler and he's kind of like
exactly. I roll.
And that's normal. It's developmentally appropriate, and he should be focusing on his friends, and I totally expect the eye rolls, but there's a balance there between do I like totally, you can't totally give up and be like, "Well, we don't do family things anymore," but just not taking it so personally, and you
Totally,
kinda
and I
have to dial back
remember
anyway, but it's hard.
yes, I remember Sissy Goff saying, I'm gonna botch this up, but she basically said for daughters, and this is probably true of sons too, but like when they're pushing away, that may be their actual signal that they're wanting to pull you in close. And I'm like, we are not mind readers. How are we supposed to know when they storm off and slam the door that this is the day they want us to actually come in and ask them what's wrong versus give them space? And so that's where I think it's tricky is there's a natural separation happening, which I'm feeling that it's like there's some healthy separation going on. She's going to be ready to let go before I am this year. But there's also like creative ways you can still engage with middle schoolers or even elementary kids to go like it used to be so cute. We'd all go to the playground, we'd all play, we'd get our Chick-fil-A milkshake, and the day was a good one, whatever it was. So now it's more creative to figure out, like for one of mine, she loves music, like loves it, musicals. So she made me a playlist and now we listen to those together. Another one, we're so into acai bowls, like we can't get enough. We're like the connoisseur of acai bowls in the city. Like we have our favorite Nautica bowls. Love you. This episode is sponsored by Nautica Bowls in Keller, Texas. But so, like, I think you, especially I imagine with boys too, you're like, okay, if you don't play the sport they play, how do you still engage with them in a way? I don't know if
Yeah.
you play their video game or how do you do that with boys?
It's so hard because I also don't I grew up with 2 sisters and not a
Hmm.
super sporty dad, and my boys are super into sports, and I don't know how to play football.
Yeah.
I just don't. I
Yeah.
cannot figure it out.
Yeah.
I try we watched the Vikings game last night, and I know when to cheer. I know
Uh-huh.
when something good happened, but I don't know any of the rules. And so,
Nor do I
actually
want to. Like,
no, I
I
know, I
never.
really don't want to either. I don't actually know both my boys play baseball. I don't really understand what's happening, and I'm trying with that one because 'cause they're actually playing. But with the football, because I don't know, like, it is kind of fun because they explain it to me,
Yeah.
and I
Let me
still don't
rephrase
get
that.
it.
I want to watch someone play football. I just watch football games with like this. I'm so glad I'm a girl. Like I literally was not built to be shoved. No one needs to pat me on the booty. No one needs to pummel my helmet into the ground. I don't want to sweat. Like I just am like, Lord, you knew that I was not supposed to be a football player, but
No.
they just live for it. It's crazy.
They really do. I mean, like, my boys love and my husband loves watching football, and I
Yeah.
like watching with them. I really do. I just don't know. I don't know the details, nor do I know if I really need to know the details. It's good enough. Then my boys get to explain it to me, and we get to have conversations while
Hmm.
watching football, and they kind of poke fun at me a little bit, and it becomes this playful little thing, and then there are other things that we bond over, like all the books they read, and they're big
Yeah.
readers, so that helps.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
One of the hard things that happened to me in 5th grade. Okay, so my really good friend, I think I've told this story on one of the podcasts, but it's all right. 5th grade, one of my good friends was their teacher, and it was Ella. So it was my first one. And I was still in the phase of like saving her, like if she missed an assignment and checking on the online, thing like the portal to see like you have missed your math work. And I was exhausted because, first of all, I don't even understand 5th grade math, nor, you know what I mean? And she was like, you need to back up. And I was like, what? And she was like, no, really, the quicker you back up and let her handle this, she's got to be ready for middle school where you're not staying on top of it. She has to stay on top of it. That was the biggest gift because it did not dawn on me. Like, I thought I'm a good mother if I'm staying on her. And some people struggle with this. I know my sister's son, she's like, if I didn't stay on him, he would have zeros. And then you're like, well, he has zeros, which is really hard to stomach. But I'm like, if you've got middle schoolers or elementary, I'm like, do it now because it doesn't cost. It doesn't go on their transcripts, but they will maybe make a C, right? So are
Mhm.
you a hoverer in the schoolwork or have you learned the wise
I
lesson of
sure
letting go?
am.
Okay. Okay. It's time. It's time.
It's
It's time.
I know, Courtney, I know, but then we get the zeros.
That's right. That's right. But
I
better
know.
at zero in 6th grade than 9th grade when it's on their college. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
it's counts.
Yes. Yes.
So I did notice, like, and then similar story when they were little, I was one of the 1st grade teachers who's awesome, saw me going down the hall, and one of my daughters said, I forgot the paper, cheering. I forgot so I was like, okay. And you want to rescue. And she looked at me behind her and was like, don't go get it. And I'm like thinking, this sweet little baby's 1st grade. And she's crying. And she said she won't forget him again. And so that was so hard. I remember literally getting in my car feeling like this is what I'm here for. This is why I have flexibility. And so talk to me about that. How do we balance like when to show up and help them with the thing? Because there's no right way to do it. But there's both
There's
are
no
important,
right way to
right?
do
To
it.
say,
I know.
"Grace, I understand it. I'm helping you," versus like, "Hey, sorry, bud. I got a job too, sis."
Right, I know. Well, we were talking about this before we started recording too, is that there is a balance, right? Like
Mhm.
I told you today, my son forgot his basketball clothes.
Yep.
And my husband texted me because he brought them to school and was like, Calvin will need his basketball clothes. And I was like, absolutely not. Like, I'm recording a podcast today. I have a
Mhm.
full time job. Like, I can't. That's going to take an hour out of my
Yeah.
day. And we're a month into basketball. The first week of basketball, he forgot it and I brought his stuff because I'm like, this
Okay.
is new. I actually
Fair.
forgot to remind you
Yeah.
that you had
Yeah.
basketball. And so I'll do it once, like one
Yeah.
time. Now it's like we've been doing this for a month, like, and
Yep.
he has a PE uniform that he can wear.
Yeah,
And so
yeah,
it's
yeah.
not like I'm setting him up for absolute failure where
That's
he's
right.
going to be like, "Oh, what do I do?" Like there's an option for him.
I like
It
that, and
might
I
not be
like
his
weighing
favorite
the
option, but it's
stakes.
there.
Like,
Yeah.
say it was the state finals, and you're like, "You can't play." I mean, that's probably something that you're like, "You know what? I'm gonna help you out." But if
Right.
it's like a practice and he's a little
It's just
embarrassed because
practice.
yeah, I think you
Yeah.
did the right thing. You did the right thing. Absolutely. One thing I think that do you have any kids with ADHD by chance? Because I have some.
I do not, but I have one that is very close.
Okay, so if you're listening, and we've had listeners reach out to say, please do a podcast on ADHD. Just know we're working on it. But I think that that is a real tricky thing. And similar to other learning disabilities, or my nephew has autism, my sister didn't know what was like when he was little, what was behavioral and where to discipline him, and what was autism and how to give him grace.
Mm.
And so that I just want to say can be really, really tricky. So for ADHD, for years, I thought, oh, sweet Ella, she's just a kid. Man, she forgets stuff. She walks right over it. And realizing later, not until she was a sophomore, that she really does have it. And it's like legit. Like she will just walk straight out over her keys and be like, does anyone see my keys? And we're like, you just stepped over them. Like, I don't understand. But all that to say, I think this also is a layer of trickiness when they start forgetting schoolwork to go like, helping them learn systems to go like I would forget where my head was if I didn't have a calendar. I would forget where I was in life as an ADHD person but didn't have my notes app. And so helping them, you're helping them and you're guiding them, but you're giving them tools, not just say you go from mom controlling it to you're completely in control. How can we ease into it? Does that make sense?
Yeah, how have you done that?
I think Ellis had to learn tricks, things that are, if she has to take a certain medication every morning, like where I place it and it's become a rhythm and a habit. She also lives by a notes app. And we also have a reset on Sundays that helps us. And it's something that Ron has helped me do. He's very disciplined. And he's like, if you just get your week set on Sunday, you're less anxious, you're less floundering because you look ahead and go. And they've done this to me a million times. Like, hey mom, tomorrow I'm supposed to brief snacks for 20 people. You're like, hello? Like, where was that Sunday when I was at Target or whatever? So I think those kind of conversations say, can you get ahead? Can we look at the week ahead and just best you can go ahead and prepare? Don't wait till you have soccer for 4 hours and then you have a test and that kind of thing. So, all those conversations, but there is grace to say, you know what? You had a late night, you fell down on the trampoline and you don't have to study for that thing. I don't know. We have no ideas here. Just good luck. That's what we'll say. Good luck. We're praying.
Like we're trying to figure it out too. I feel like one thing that's really hard is so you have one going to college. Like what have you done to kind of let go and not hover over her like basic life skills? Like she has to
Yeah,
really do her own laundry. Like no one's
correct.
going to save her from that anymore. You
Correct.
know, like how have you done that?
Some areas I have crushed it, like laundry. I don't know if it's just because I didn't want to do it. They do their laundry and they've been doing it for years. We say on Sundays, our reset day, if it's not done by
Mhm.
Sunday, end of day, then I don't even know. We just said, I'm sure there was a consequence, but they just got in the rhythm. That was like, you have to have your clothes done and put up for the week ahead. But there's areas so full confession, I had someone say to me, and maybe it was a good friend that was like, do you think you're overparenting? And I was like, overparenting? Like, what the? Because I'd heard helicopter mom. I'm like, yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely, if there's an extreme towards like, let it all just like fly by the wind parenting versus helicopter, I definitely trend more towards helicopter. So I have to fight this feeling. But I was like, what does over parenting mean? And I think what she was trying to say, like, for example, if there's homecoming drama, I'm trying to get in there and resolve it and
Mm.
fix it and smooth it and make the situation better when maybe she is the 18-year-old and can figure out her own homecoming plans. And they want that. Like both of my girls have said to me, can you just let us handle this? And I'm like, because it's out of love. It's out of love. It's out of
Yeah.
great intentions, but it actually, as they age can mess things up more with your
Yeah.
involvement. So I think as she gets ready for college, there's a long adulting list that my friend Jennifer Scott gave me, and we're like halfway there. I'm like, she doesn't know how to change a car tire, but it's on the list.
I mean, I feel like some of those things just gotta be baptized by fire and
For
just
sure.
figure it
For
out,
sure.
right?
Well, here's another example. Okay, forms in the doctors. Nothing makes me more mad, like crazy than a form in the doctors. And it's like 3 million pages. Now they have the iPads. And so this week she had a question on every single one. And because I was antsy and impatient, I was like, just give me the iPad. And so I threw it all.
Mhm.
But the proper thing probably would have been like, hey, you're going to college next fall. You're going to be filling out your doctor form. So get after it. And I'll sit here and answer any questions that you have. So it's practicing. It's also just knowing that sometimes, I mean, I don't know. It's a lot.
I feel like I am an overparenter for sure.
Hmm.
Definitely it's hard for me not to be driving to school to bring the basketball clothes.
Yeah.
I will check teams every night for assignments. We will do all like those
Yeah.
things, the practical things. I will fill out the forms mostly because I just want them done. Like
Yeah.
the laundry,
Correct.
we're starting that, but it's like I want things done.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like I'm an overparenter with the emotional things. Those I'm like,
Mm.
you need to figure that out. Here's some like, let's ask some questions. Let's figure out that now you go
Okay,
handle
I'm
your
probably the
own issue.
reverse. I'm probably
Okay.
less over parenting in practical life, and I'm more over parenting in emotions. So teach me, oh wise
That's
one.
probably like boys versus girls too.
Yeah,
I don't
totally.
know. But I feel like there are so many of us like this we don't realize we're doing it. So what do you think is the root of why people overparent?
Well, it's funny. I've been thinking about this, and my friend Sharon Menken, she was on the podcast, I think last year, but she's a mentor of mine. And I was telling her about this. She was like, "Oh yeah, I remember when I realized that I was overparenting." She said it was humiliating, and so I was like, "Oh, do tell." She's like, "I was at the doctor, probably like their senior year or junior year or whatever, and I was helping them fill out a form, talking about whatever medical issue it was, and the doctor wrote a note in the corner, and she saw it, and she said, 'A mom is controlling.'" Could you die? I'm like, I mean, I was like dumbfounded. I'm like, are doctors making notes about us on the
I have
corners
no
of their
idea.
thing? Probably. They're like, oh, here she is again. What's phobia where you think every time they're sick, I'm like, they have cancer. Like I goes, they're probably like, this lady is legit crazy. But so I said, Sharon, thank you for telling me that because that is the issue. I want to control. Like I'm
Mhm.
fearful if they do it themselves, they're going to fall or fail or be disappointed. And then I think if I control it, it'll all turn out neatly. And that's all lies. It's lies. It's like if you
Yeah.
look back to your life, Steph, and go, what were the times in high school that I learned, well, I didn't make that team. Well, I didn't get that job. Or my boyfriend broke up with me. Like most of the like failures is where God teaches you who you are and how strong you are. And we're preventing our kids from experiencing that by hovering and overparenting. But I do think it's age appropriate before you feel guilt. I do think it's as time we're letting go of the rope,
Right.
letting go of the rope, letting go of the rope. So it's not appropriate for a second grader to be like, hey, fill out the forms and walk to school. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yes, totally. And I do think that we're setting our kids up to fail and we don't let them struggle a little bit
Yeah.
too,
Yeah.
Like they're not going to learn how to navigate the world if we're doing it for them.
Because what would someone think? Your school friend might think that Steph's a too busy, not present mom because he doesn't have his basketball uniform. But you know that you're helping him learn responsibility. So I think that's another piece of it. You're like, I'm trying to make it all look neat and tidy so the other moms think I'm crushing it out here.
Totally. It's
Right?
the selfish thing too, right?
Yeah,
We want
for
to look
sure.
like our family is put together
Yeah.
at all times.
Yeah. So my mom said to, and this is something she taught me, but she said there was a time she said she always wanted her mom's opinion. Mom, what do you think? Mom, what do you think? And she said her mom finally stopped at answering and said, what do you think you should do?
Mhm.
And that one statement this year has helped me because Ella really wants my opinion. Like she likes me. We're at a good place. Like I can see the friendship coming. And she's curious, but she's also frozen in confidence to think like, I'm just going to tell her which outfit is best or what she should say to a friend. And so I'm having to push back on her particularly to say like, what do you think? Because like you have a good noggin in there. Like, you have the Holy Spirit. Like, the right thing to do. You probably just need to process it. And so I'm having to sit on my hands, bite my tongue and be like, what do you think? And if she really is my opinion and we'll banter it through, but at the end of the day, keep giving her the, ability and permission to make those choices for herself.
Yeah. And I think too, like, I feel like there has to be a defining moment in your child's life where they realize they have to do something on their own.
Mm-hmm.
and we tend to protect them so much that we take those opportunities away. My mom, when I was I feel like I just talked about this on the podcast, so
I love
that's
your mom.
interesting,
I
but,
enjoyed meeting her at that
she is
luncheon. She's so
she is
cute. She's so
delightful.
cute.
But she's a very good adult parent, and we've talked about this a lot of, like, what makes it where you're a really good adult like, you've been really good at letting go and giving space, and, like, what was that moment for you that, like, made it
Yeah, good
clear to you
question.
that it was time to let go a little bit? And for parenting me, when I was in 5th grade, I lost a friend,
Mm.
and she sat at home. The school nurse called her and said, "Caitlin died. We're
Oh,
gonna tell the kids at, like, lunchtime."
oh gosh.
And her first instinct was, "Okay, I'm gonna come get her." And she said, "No, she needs to be here, like, we're gonna tell her, and then you
Wow.
can come get her at the end of the day, but she needs to be with her classmates right now." And
Wow.
so my mom had to sit there all day just waiting and just saying, like, "You're right, like,
Oh,
she needs to be there, but, like, I can't fix this,
but
and
gut
I
wrenching to
can't make it
think of the
better."
pain that your child is feeling and you can't be beside
Yes.
her. Yes, that's
But
it.
she was like, that was like, for my entire parenting, like, I can't be everything to my kids anymore or ever. I never have been able to. But, like, that was the moment for her.
It's
And
huge.
obviously, hopefully, no one has to go through that because that's not the type of moment that you want. But little moments that feel so huge to your kids. Like, I didn't make the team,
Yep.
like you said, or I got cut, or my
Didn't get
friend
invited
group
to the birthday party.
yeah, my
Yeah.
friend group kinda kicked me out for whatever reason.
It
Like,
stinks.
all those things are opportunities for parents to let go a little bit,
Absolutely. My
you know?
friend Winter, that I used to have a podcast with,
Mhm.
and she said, I hope I can get the quote right, but she said, my job is to guide my kids through their problems, not around. And that's what we want to do. We typically want to leapfrog it and just go around and be like, if I just pick them up and we jump past that one, then it's all easier. But it's like, what was learned in the process of those
Yeah.
problems is huge for sure.
When you even look at the way Jesus mentored his disciples, like, he didn't just tell them, like, "Okay, here's what you need to know
That's right.
about following me. Here are, like, the rules to the kingdom. Like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna list them out for you and follow these things, and you're gonna do great." Like, they floundered. He taught them in very confusing parables. Like, he d
Questions. He had great
questions,
questions.
so many questions.
Yeah.
Like, "What do you think about that?"
Yeah. It
Like,
like
and we
makes
can learn
them
from that.
think. Yeah.
Right,
Like,
right.
he would do one that was like, what was I reading yesterday? It was kinda like, "Why would you ask for this when I've given you this?" It's kinda like making them think through like, "Huh, it's a great question." So I think questions can be huge for sure.
Yeah. Well, and we're not meant to know it all as parents either, and we
Mhm.
can give our kids that false reality, and then eventually it comes tumbling down when they realize we don't know everything. And that is not stable for them.
Okay, I have a big confession. This is the time.
Okay.
I've been
I can't wait.
sleeping in the morning so much, y'all, and here's the thing, I feel horrible about it, and I feel like it's a dirty secret that people are gonna find out that I sleep in, but here's the my excuse. So, 2020 to 23, I was going after these migraines, headaches, and a neurologist told me, like, "You need physical and mental rest," and I was like I took it like an assignment. I'm like, "I've never had such good news in my life from a doctor, physical and mental rest." I'm like, "Great." Turned off the podcast, stopped working, got on Instagram when I feel like it, and I literally finished Netflix. Like I literally laid on the couch, and like my brother and I talk about in an upcoming episode about how that's kind of atrophy. It's like I didn't use any of my brain muscles or my body muscles, and I just kind of fell into like a sloth, which was good. But I did realize how much sleep I actually need. Lately, I've been staying up till 3 or 4 because of my hormones, trying to get that in control, and then I won't sleep, and then I know if I get up at 6 with the girls, that is gonna be a headache day, and I can't do my work, so I'll sleep until 9, whatever, but I've missed a lot of their mornings for a long time, and they're like, "Mom, we're good. We're up, like, we wouldn't even see you," but they know how to make their breakfast. They know how to make their lunch, and there's massive mom guilt. I'm just saying there's areas of time where you think, "I am significantly bombing this," or, "I am letting them down," and I look at them and go, "They're functional adults." Like, they can get up because of my, quote, "neglect," or like in I don't know, what would you call it? Non-presence in the morning. They can do a lot of stuff. Now, should I get up? Yes. Would I enjoy more time with my kids in the morning? Yes. Could I help them make a breakfast? Yes. And I'm working on that. But that's an extreme example just to say, like, hey, don't beat yourself up if I don't know what another scenario would be. Like, like they have to make their lunches. Like, look at them make their lunch. They got this.
Yeah.
Or, they have to eat in the school cafeteria. It's okay. It's okay.
Well, even being a working mom, like, my kids when they come home from school, I work from home, but, like, I'm not available to them.
Yeah.
Like, a
Yeah.
little bit, like, I'm there and I'll, like, help them make a snack but if they really need something, I'm like, "You have to wait."
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's I wish that I could just drop everything and be
Yeah.
like, they're home from school and I'm 100% focused on you, but I just can't. They have a mom who works a full-time job, and so
Yeah.
they've had to learn after school looks a little different than it did 3 years ago when I wasn't working,
That's
and
right.
there's a lot of mom guilt there,
For sure.
and you have to let that go. I think mom guilt there's my mom guilt has changed over the years for
Yeah.
sure. From,
Well,
like,
isn't
I'm
it
not
isn't
doing
that
enough, or I'm not doing it
yeah.
right, or when they're babies, like, I'm doing it all wrong, or they're not reaching their milestones, and then now it's, like, the working mom guilt.
Is it like I'm letting them down or I'm not being enough or all that?
Yeah, I'm not as present
Yeah.
as, like, I should be. I can't, like, keep the house as clean as I used to be able to. I can't, like, be at every field trip. I can't do all the things.
Here's a red flag y'all can look for. Let me know if you agree with this. We get to do some cool stuff in our family. And I told them, even if it's gifts or travel or whatever, I'm like, if you're entitled or you're ungrateful, those are two really big red flags for me. So if you talk about a
Mhm.
mom's presence, if they are expectant that I'm going to drop everything and be there every time and they act like entitled or like put off, like there was a time they were acting like I was their 24-hour admin assistant and like, why would you not bring me Chick-fil-A at 11:10? And I'm like, whoa. And I saw it creeping in there and quickly was like, I bring you Chick-fil-A if I can and if it's a gift. Like this is not like so I think we had to have a conversation just to say like those are some red flags in my mind that I'm helping too much or I'm overparenting is when you're treating me a little bit like like your admin. That's like bring this to me and I'll have Chick-fil-A sauce on the side. It's like, whoa, like yo. So I think those if you're mostly at home mom or even a working mom, I think having those times where you kind of buck up against it and be like, I would love to do that today, but I'm in a meeting or like today. I am going to a birthday lunch with a friend, and Larson has to sit at the school for 40 whole minutes and wait for her sister. And she's like, what? I'm like, no, this is my friend's birthday, and I got to be there. And so those little things that you've quick feel guilty and go, all right, no, she's 15. She can sit somewhere for 40 minutes. So look for those expectant attitude, entitlement, and then just ungratefulness are red flags to me.
Yeah. Okay. To, like, start summing up our time, what are, like, a few practical things that you think parents can do that have helped you or that you're working on that help you to, like, not overparent so much?
Pause. I think our gut reaction is we love them. I want to
Yeah.
help them. I want them to have the best life ever. And so just pause. And I'm preaching to myself. We would say pause before you pounce on anything with an email to a friend. So pause before you react to a request and go, I don't know. Let me think about that. I mean, in the moment, he's like, hey, I'm calling from school. I need my basketball thing. You're going to have to make a quick decision. But a lot of times you can just pause and be like, I don't know. Just take a minute to think through the
Yeah.
whole thing if you can. I think pause helps a lot.
Well, I think pause also helps with the reactions too, because
Yeah.
I can very quickly be like, "Calvin, no. Griffin, stop." Like,
Yeah.
"Harriet, stop," and just not be as gentle as I need to be
Yeah,
when they're
absolutely.
requesting something of me. So pausing to make a good
Pausing.
decision and to react well is always a good idea.
All right, I have another one, affirming. So if Ella makes a decision because it's her decision and I would have done it differently, I would have folded the laundry differently. I would have picked a different shirt. Like questioning and critiquing their decisions just eats away at their confidence. So just saying once you've said, hey, it's up to you. If you mean that, then be like, great choice. I mean, if it was like something wrong, right and wrong, yes. But if it's like a different color than you wanted, if she, bought the present you wouldn't, I'm just like, "It's okay. Great job." Or she felt out the form and feels stupid about it, it's okay.
Yeah.
So that I have to fight against that of, like, saying it's their choice and then critiquing them.
Yeah. I teach Sunday school
Yeah?
at our church. I have 3 to 5-year-olds, and I can't even tell you how many sweet, sweet, sweet little girls come in, and their parents are like, "Can you tell she dressed herself today?" I'm like,
I
"I sure can, and she looks adorable, and she feels so confident, and you should just
That's
embrace
right.
that."
That's
Like,
right.
just embrace that she feels so good
But
in
that's
that
the
Elsa
parent
dress and the cowboy
opinion.
boots and, like,
That's the
yeah.
worry of a parent's opinion that you have to make a disclaimer like, "I wouldn't dress my kid like this, just so you know." Like, no judgment on me. I'm actually a very tasteful mom, so
And I'm like,
oh,
nobody thinks that you put your daughter in that mismatched outfit, but everybody thinks she looks adorable and she feels really
that's right.
good.
That's right.
And so just let it be.
That's right.
Because someday she's gonna wear all Lululemon or something.
Right, or then it's gonna be bigger stakes, like, so they might be choosing polka dotted skirt and a striped shirt, but then later they're choosing friends, and you can't just choose
Mm,
their friends for them, and so as you go, the stakes get bigger and bigger to go like, "Hey, I trust you. Like, I trust you, and I'm gonna have to let that play out." There's sometimes they switch friend groups and you're like, "I don't know." Like, you're like, "Pray about that one." But at some level, they're gonna have to learn discernment on friendships too.
yeah. So start with the close.
Mhm, mhm.
I think for me, one thing that has been a game changer for at least my thought life and thinking through parenting and am I overparenting? Where are my boundaries? Sissy Goff did an episode with me and she said, I've actually played it twice because it's so good. But she said, what are two things that you're doing for your kids that they can do for themselves? And what are
Wow,
two things that you're doing for your kids that they can almost do for themselves?
great.
And stop doing all four.
Wow.
I know. In my head, when she was talking, I was like, okay, so stop the two and then ease
Okay.
out of the other two. And then she said, stop doing all
Stop
four.
all
And I was like,
4.
wait, what?
So good.
What about like, but you think about it, you're like, okay, if I had my kids cleaning their bathroom for a while and then I quit because it wasn't getting quite clean enough. If I had just let them keep going,
Yeah,
they would have figured it out, but I
absolutely.
prevented them from figuring it out.
So hard,
So
so
now I have to
hard.
start over with that whole process.
Hey, this is so helpful to me to think through. I liked what you said about Sissy. I would just do everything Sissy says. Is that one of our taglines? Whatever Sissy Golf says, we'll just do that,
I mean,
basically.
if I could have her, I think I told her, like, if I could have you in my back pocket, just like telling me things all the time, my life, I think, would be immensely easier.
The problem
We'd
is
all
I
be
do.
overparenting less.
The problem is I do. Like, we text on regular occasion and it's everything in this is where you know the fruit of the spirit, self-control, folks. I'm like, I want to text her on the daily and I don't. And I'm like, I mean, we'll talk about like life and business, but not kid problems. I want to be like, hey, how's your lunch? Question. Asking for a friend. If a 15-year-old sasses you in the car, just for example.
Not my 15-year-old at
No,
all.
uh-uh.
No,
Never,
no.
never. But okay, on the contrary, I will say this. My mom loved the snot out of us. And I do think if you have to lean one way, I would say over parenting in an over loving way, they're going to be so grateful. And so if you look at the extremes and go like, if I just hands off, you do you boo, go figure out your own life. They need guidance. They need boundaries. They need love. They need your involvement. They need coaching. It's just a process. So it's start letting go earlier than you want to
Mhm.
and you will see the fruit of that and you'll see this kid blossom. But I do think if you are feeling guilty right now, that go like, you love them. Like, there's nothing more I want to do in my entire life and love these girls well and help be the best mom I can be. And so I think that's the place it's coming from. And so don't
Yeah.
hear us say like, just throw your hands up and let them like drive the car at
Never
10.
drop basketball clothes off again. Like,
Please. The kids are like, please help me every now and then. So they'll feel grace through that too. To be like, Mom, I
yeah.
really messed up. Can you help me out? And be like, you know what, bud? Today I can't. I'm actually out and about. Be happy to drive it by. And so that's that discernment piece is going, Lord, we can't tell you how many times or when to do it. But if we're walking in step with the Lord, then you can be like, oh, I felt a nudge and a pause, a holy pause that I should wait.
Yeah. And I always go back to also like when I'm planning out my podcast and thinking about everything Christian parenting, I always just think anyone who's dedicating part of their week to listen to a podcast
Correct.
about Christian parenting, like you are a good parent who is loving and trying your best. And you're doing a great, great job. And
Agreed.
so it's nothing to get hung up on. And it is, I mean, parenting truly is a million little moments of learning to let go. And they're little moments. And we're all trying to figure it out bit
Yeah.
by bit. And you might let go of something and be like, oops, just kidding.
Yeah.
I need to rein that one back
That's
in a
right.
little bit. It's a process and we're all just trying to figure it out. If we had
For
to figure it
literally.
out, we wouldn't be having this conversation like, wait, how are you overparenting? How am
Right.
I overparenting?
I'm laughing thinking about just boys in showers because I have some nephews that are just like, no, I'm not interested in that. And it's like, you can't physically pick up a teenager and put them in the shower. I mean, just like, you have to shower. Have you smelled your armpit? So those are the little things that get tricky. That's like, it's funny, but it's not. You're like, if I don't, take his fun away, he's not getting in the shower. I mean, these are the things we have to deal
Yeah.
with.
We had to do that with both our boys, not take the fun away, but those are the moments where I'm like, "No, we're gonna just, like, speak some real truth." And it was like, "Someday you're gonna go to school and someone's gonna be like, 'Ooh, who smells?' And you're gonna realize it was you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Like, you are stuck there as the smelly kid. So,
Uh-huh.
like,
And the
you
girl
can
you've
make a
had a crush
choice."
on is just written you off, buddy.
Yeah, so it's like then you get to make a choice. Do you wanna be potentially the smelly kid, or do you wanna just spend 5 minutes right now taking a
I love
shower?
it.
Like,
So good.
that's
So good. Tough
I
love.
don't know, you probably didn't have to do that with your girls.
No, I mean, no, a little bit in like middle school when it's like it was too much. They have a lot of hair. So just trying to help them figure out a rhythm when, with just mounds and mounds of hair, they didn't want to do it. So yeah, a little bit. I remember one lady said when they were like little, it's like, hey, when they first start using deodorant or whatever, it's like, don't just like slap water on yourself. She was like, use a loofah, like really scrub. And I was like, that is such a good tip for a young girl. Because if they're just like in the shower slapping water, they still smell the next day. It's like, no, you need to actually apply soap, scrub it, scrub your armpit, that kind of thing. And that was like an aha for them. They were like, oh, hadn't thought of that. So
These are
pro
just
tip,
things you just
pro tip for
yeah.
showering, guys.
These are things you don't think about when your kids are little. Like, I'm gonna have to teach my child how to shower,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
but you
It's so
do.
much. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah,
Brush their teeth. It's too much.
it's a
Floss.
whole
I mean,
battle.
who's going to floss?
It's a whole battle in my house.
Thanks
I
for
don't wanna talk
doing
about it.
this with me. This is super helpful as I'm still in it and letting go quickly and controlling by nature. So it's good.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna be praying for you as you're wrapping up the school year.
Thank you, friend. Thank you, friend. I'm really excited for her. It's like really hard tears at the beginning of the year, just that we're here. It's just like, oh my gosh, I love parenting. I love having her in my home. And so she's not dying, but she is going to be moving on to a new phase. And so that's just sad, but she's ready. Like everyone told me, my friends that are older than me are like, they'll be ready. Like you can see the adult in them that's ready to fly. And she is. And so that's a great piece. It's like, I'm not crying over her. I'm crying over I'm going to miss her like a friend. Like I just want you beside me
Mhm.
and in life and at the dinner table. But all good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you for doing this with me. Thank you for just sharing some of your heart. I feel like it's just good to get on here and say, "Hey, we're real people too, and
Free
we are just
counseling. Free
figuring it out."
counseling.
I know we had a little session here, didn't we? Now we just need Sissy Goff with us, and we'll be
That's
just good to go.
that's right. So fun. Appreciate
Yeah.
you, Steph. I love
Yeah.
we were laughing early because we're both podcast hosts. And I was like, I submit to your authority, but honestly, you are the boss and you do such a good job at leading this whole network and this ministry. And your heart for parents is so much bigger than anything selfish or anything about you or anything about making money. It's like you care about all the parents listening, and that comes through in your work. So thank you.
Thank you. That's so sweet. And if you guys are listening and you have questions for us, or you have more things that you want to hear about, whether it's questions about overparenting or topics that you want us to cover, just reach out to us. You can email info@christianparenting.org, or you can go onto Instagram, either the Pardon the Mess account or the Christian Parenting account, and just reach out because we would love to hear from you.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Courtney.
Thanks.
Christian Parenting